Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie, one half of Avery Scott, and I'm here today to read you a snippet from our new book, The Bad Twin. The Bad Twin will release on August 29th, so not too much longer to wait. I think it's 22 days, and it's going to be available live. So I posted the link in the comments, and hopefully, if you haven't ordered already, you'll take a chance to pick it up. Words I would use to describe this book are lush, romantic, and slow burn, which are all kind of things that I associate with Paris. There's definitely some spice, but if you've read any of the other Avery Scott books from the Catch series, I would say that this book is a little more atmospheric and emotional and maybe less raw than those were. Like I said, there's still plenty of ooh la la, but just think satin sheets and rose petals as opposed to kitchen counter. So just to give you an idea of what you're in for. This book is really special to me because the majority of the book takes place in Paris. And Paris is a special place to me. I was a French major in college back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and got to spend a decent amount of time there when I was in my early 20s. So I made a lot of fabulous memories, and it was really fun to go back there and sort of experience some of those things again. And it was great that my co-author, Anne, who is really probably the strongest part of our writing team, it's a good thing that I was able to drag her on board. So this book is about Abby Levesque. Levesque, just in case you're reading and wonder how to pronounce that name. But it's Abby Levesque and her identical twin sister, Gabrielle. Fun fact how we came up with that name, Levesque. I actually dated a guy that was his last name. And when we broke up, honestly, the thing I was the saddest about was that I always thought that was kind of an awesome last name. So didn't work out for me. Ended up with one that is easier to read and pronounce, and a better guy. I love my husband. But that's the story of Levesque. The other name I love is Beausoleil. I'm kind of surprised we don't have a Beausoleil in this book because that's one I just love, but more books to come. So maybe you'll get it in the future. So anyway, about Abby. Abby has always longed to go to Paris, but it never worked out for her. Financially, she didn't have the means, and she and her sister were raised by their grandmother. And after their grandmother died, they're working to keep their grandmother's house, or I should say Abby's working. Abby is very responsible. She keeps everything together. She's kind of the mom of the twins, whereas Gabrielle's just a free spirit and does what she wants to do, gets in trouble, and leaves messes for Abby to clean up. And one of those messes is about to unfold in the part I'm going to read to you, which is in chapter 3. Now, I chose this excerpt because it's the first real substantial meeting between Abby and the hero, Hudson Quinn. They glimpsed each other in chapter 1, but this is kind of the meet cute of the story. So if you have the print edition of the book, or if you decide to get the print edition of the book, this is going to be on page 28. Abby stared at the painting for a moment and then picked up her palette and brush. She dabbed at the canvas tentatively at first, but it wasn't long before inspiration found her. She had tried to describe the feeling to a non-artist before. She started out with no idea of where to place her brushstrokes or what color to use. Sometimes she stared at the blank space in front of her for what felt like hours. Then, out of nowhere, there was a point where she stopped thinking about what she was going to paint and started feeling it. Her hands moved of their own accord, coaxing raw emotion out of the swirls of oil. She painted in an almost fugue-like state, so absorbed that she lost track of time. When an unexpected knock at the door, the second of the day, broke her concentration, she was astonished to discover that dusk had fallen. "Coming," she called out, wiping her paint-splattered hands on the legs of her jeans as she hurried toward the door. Abby barely reached the front hallway before the pounding repeated. It was harder the second time. It sounded almost angry. She hesitated a moment before continuing to the front of the house. She always expected the regular visits from Mr. Saint, but she couldn't think of anyone who would stop by at night unless it was a friend of Gabrielle's. As badly as Abby wanted to think well of her sister, she wasn't confident that everyone in her twins' crowd was an upstanding citizen. Abby crept forward carefully and pushed back the lace curtains of the front window. A limousine was parked outside. She blinked in surprise when she realized that she had seen the car before. It belonged to Gabrielle's boss. The passenger door was open. From her line of sight, she could only make out that the person on her porch was a man wearing a dark business suit. Gabrielle's boss? Abby felt a twinge of curiosity, followed almost immediately by a spike of fear. Oh God, did something happen to her sister? Was that why the man had come here? Gabrielle had never returned the night before, but that wasn't necessarily unusual. Her sister had mentioned that travel might be involved in her new job, but she was never one to talk about work. She always said it was too boring. But now Gabrielle's boss stood on the front porch, pounding furiously. Abby didn't even remember the man's name. She scrambled to unlock the door before it splintered under his assault. Abby had glimpsed her sister's employer through an open car door several weeks before, but that brief glance was insufficient to do him justice. It all made sense now. No wonder Gabrielle had set a personal record for remaining gainfully employed. The man was gorgeous, a bit over 6 feet tall with broad shoulders and a lean, athletic body. His dark hair was closely cropped on the sides and slightly longer on top, tousled in a way that could have been intentional, but was more likely the result of dragging his fingers through his hair. His skin was tanned a golden color that spoke of sun-soaked vacations on the Aegean Sea, but his most striking feature was his shocking blue eyes. They stared at her with such intensity that she briefly forgot how to speak. "What the fuck is wrong with you?" the man blurted after a beat of silence. "Excuse me?" Abby asked, shocked by the outburst. She stepped to the side, vaguely shocked as he wedged himself inside the doorway. "I've been sitting outside in front of this house honking the horn for 20 minutes and you're not answering your phone." "I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you. I was in the back of the house painting and I—" "Where are your suitcases?" he interrupted, clearly disinterested in the explanation. "My suitcases?" "Yes, Gabrielle, your suitcases. You are planning to wear clothes in Paris, aren't you? Or did you just expect me to buy you a whole new wardrobe?" He scanned the room again and threw up his hands in disgust when he was unable to find whatever he was looking for. "You know what? I don't even fucking care. We're late. Let's go." Abby squeaked in surprise as his hand closed on the top of her arm and he started hustling her out the door. "Wait!" she yelped as his words sank in. Gabrielle. The man had used her sister's name. He must have taken Abby for her twin. "I think there's been some kind of mistake." Abby wilted as his eyes focused on her face with such laser-sharp intensity that she could practically feel them burning into her skin. "Yes, there has been a mistake," he said, his voice thick with controlled fury. "A mistake made by you when you decided to test me with whatever this bullshit is. Gabrielle, you're a fun girl and it's been a great few weeks, but I have more than just money riding on this deal. If you don't get in that car and come with me to the airport right now, you're fired. You can forget about the bonus, you can forget about severance pay, and you can expect a letter from my lawyer about the tab you ran up on my Amex card at Retox last Saturday night when you went out drinking with your friends. Do you understand?" Abby took a step backward, her mind spinning. She could barely make sense of what this strange man was saying, but the parts that she could piece together were terrifying. This mysterious, handsome, furious man expected her sister to get on a plane with him tonight. If Gabrielle didn't comply, she was fired. If she got fired, they had no money at all. And if they had no money, they would lose the house. Abby absolutely refused to let that happen. She would do anything to save Grandma's house. There was just one tiny problem. Gabrielle was nowhere to be found. So that is part of chapter 3. The end. I'm going to try to click it back to Facebook. Hopefully it's recording. I'd be very sad if it's not. Oh, it looks like you're still there. So, spoiler alert, Gabrielle does not show up, and Abby is going to be heading off to Paris with Hudson Quinn. So, I hope you enjoyed the excerpt. And if you did, like I said, you can click the link and go ahead and pre order the book and sign up maybe for some of our social media to hear more. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.